is Michelle Robinson, and I'm here with a bunch of prickly pears, prickly pear cactus figs that come off of my prickly pear cactus outside. And I thought maybe I would make a video and show people how I process the prickly pears. Okay, we have our prickly pears that we're going to be harvesting. We're in mid-October right now, and they're really ripe. We look forward to harvesting these every year because we make juice and...
My basket's almost full.
It is. I dehydrate some of them, make them into powder. So this is a real blessing.
Very ripe. Sometimes they're just falling off.
Yeah, they're falling off right now.
You just give it a little twist. Come off real easy.
You don't want your hands to touch the actual Nepali, the pad, because it'll poke you, honey. Be careful.
Yeah, I know. I need to be
getting your nose real close there.
I know. I dropped one. But...
Nepalis are also edibles. The young Nepalis, especially in the spring, we can try to use them too. The fruit is something I use a lot. I got my prickly pears that I harvested from my garden, and I'm just going to rinse them in water. I've got some tweezers here that I'm going to use to get any prickers out that I see in them. Sometimes prickers from the prickly pear leaf will poke into the fruit. Most of the time the fruit doesn't have prickers on it. It just has a little bit of fuzzy prickers at the tip. But sometimes when you're harvesting, the prickly pear Nepali leaf has thorns in it and it'll poke into this. So we have to be very careful how we harvest it. When I have my grandchildren helping me, and I often do it too, I might bump into a leaf and some of the prickers will go in. And so I'll just use these tweezers to check every one before I cut it in half. And as you can see, I have a little bit of thorns on this. I don't know if you can see it there, but I'm just going to take these tweezers and pull them off. Sometimes it has these fuzzy things at the tip that I have to take off with the tweezers. Those are prickles too, but they're a little softer, but we still want to take them off before we cut it up. So I usually just take those off and I look for any other prickers that might have stuck in there from the leaves. So I'm going to remove those fuzzy little prickers right there. Just with these tweezers, just grab a hold of it and pull it like that. Then I'll rinse my tweezers a little bit in the water. You can kind of see all that fuzzy stuff floating around in the water. So that's all the stuff that won't go in your juices. So I'm just going to cut this in half. And I'm going to fill my blender. If I find one that's really juicy and ripe, it's starting to ferment, I don't use that. So I'm just looking at each one and making sure that it's pretty clean. And slicing it in half like this with just a regular knife. And popping it in my blender. Hi. I'm doing a video. I was wondering where you were. I thought maybe you were outside with the girls.
No.
That's it. I'll cut that up. I'll get back with you. Okay, so now we have to fill it with some water, just a little bit, about a quarter to a third there at the bottom. Being that this is a cactus, the liquid is going to be very mucilage and stretchy, so if you add a little bit of water, it helps with the flow of it going through the strainer, and it's so much easier to process that way. If you don't add water, when you try to strain it through a strainer like this, it just takes a long time for it to go through. So if I add water, it helps a lot. It's just diluting it a little bit more, but it really makes a difference in trying to process this. This is a Ninja food processor here, but now I use my Blendtec. But you can use anything that you have. A food processor, a good strong blender will work both just as well. So I have one of these strainers right here inside of a bowl, and then I'll just go ahead and pour this in there. And then I just take a spatula and I kind of move it around a little bit and stir it until all the juices go underneath. See, they're going down there. If you didn't use the water, it would take a lot longer and you wouldn't be able to get a lot of the juices out. The water really helps a lot. Okay, so it's starting to strain through, and I just keep stirring it for maybe a few minutes to make sure that I've got most of the juice out. I usually keep stirring it until it's kind of foamy at the bottom. I got most of the juices out, but some of them are still in there. And I just dump it in this bowl right here, and I'll dehydrate that later. Okay, so now I have some of the juice here. It's kind of slimy and red. I put the juice in my ice cube trays and I freeze them. I like this method because this is raw juice, and I like to drink raw juices because then all the living enzymes are still in there. I can pop these ice cubes in slushes. I can float them in punches, all kinds of things like that. I like to make my jello with this. It adds the red color to my jello when I cook my chicken feet and my duck feet to make the collagen turn into jello. Then I mix this with it, and it makes a great jello, adding a little bit of stevia and some fruit, and it's so good for you. I'm just stacking them on top of each other and then putting them in the freezer. These are frozen from yesterday. I take them out, put them into vacuum seal bags, which are over here on this side. So that's what I'm going to do now. I have to empty these trays so that I can fill them again. So I'm going to take the trays and break them and take the ice cubes out. And I have to be quick about this because they can start to melt pretty quickly. So I'm going to try to be quick and just do a couple trays at a time. And then I put about 6 to 8 in a bag. This is a Weston vacuum sealer. So I'm going to take this and seal these. Sometimes I have to wipe the inside a little bit to make sure they're clean on the top. Okay. Prickly pear. There. And then goes in the freezer. So here's the inside of my freezer. This is some nice juice cubes I can put into my smoothies when I'm ready for them. There's about 12 cubes in each bag. You can just bag in Ziploc bags as well if you don't have a vacuum sealer. Take these little sandwich bags here and I'll stick about a dozen of them in here. You want to do this somewhat quickly so they don't start to melt. Seal it up. Okay, now that I have them all in these little sandwich bags, these are not freezer bags. So I'm going to take a gallon freezer bag and put 4 of these in each bag. That gives that extra protection in the freezer. And it's easier to mark these bags. 4 of them in one bag and then you can just label it right there. I would suggest you label it before you put the cold ice cubes in the bag because the markers don't work too good if it's cold. Here's another method in bagging the juice. It does eliminate the step of having to rebag the cubes. Just pour them in plastic bags originally and freeze them. That's another option. That size works good. That's about a cup. That's about as much as I would put in a quart of apple juice. It has a really nice flavor when you add it to apple juice. So I'm done emptying my cube trays and I'm going to start over again with another pack of them. I'm leaving them dirty because it doesn't really need to be clean because I'm just going to add more juice. I usually get about a low peck of this done. I mean, this isn't filled to the top, but about this high, and I usually can fill 8 or 9 ice cube trays. I have a little bit left in the bottom of my basket that I can't use right now because all my ice cube trays are full and I gotta wait till they freeze overnight, empty them, vacuum seal them, and then I'll do another batch. I have about 3 more baskets out there. Okay, so I'm just going to put these little leftovers in here for tomorrow. I've got 3 more baskets here to do. Have it done in about 3 days, 1 basket a day. Okay, what I have left here is the seeds and the pulp, the pulpy seeds and peel that is left over after I squeeze most of the juice out of these prickly pears. I'm going to show you what I do with this. All this can be dehydrated, so I'm going to lay that on my dehydrator sheets and I'm going to dehydrate them. I'm going to take this and put these on my sheets here, spread it around, and they'll dehydrate overnight. They'll probably fill up about 4 or 5 sheets. I have an Excalibur dehydrator. I also have a Harvest one, the white stackable kind. I use them also for different things. They're nice because you can just dry small amounts at one time. But with the Excalibur, it doesn't have sections. You have to, do 1 shelf or 9 shelves. You're still dehydrating in a big box. Kind of sticks together and lays real nicely on the shelf. Doesn't run because I got most of the juices off. It's just very mucilage-y, so it sticks there together and it dries very well overnight. That's number 3. I use these plastic sheets that I put at the bottom of my tray. I got 5 of those, 9 trays, but only 5 sheets, so I think I'm going to have to do 2 more. I have a dial back here that I'll set for, I liked it to be living foods at 105, so I don't like to go past 115. 115 is making yogurt, so I think that's still good. Okay. I have these plastic sheets that I lay it in right here like this. I only have so many of them. I have 9 trays, but only 5 sheets, so I'm going to use some parchment paper I can use just to put on the trays to spread this out, and then I'm just going to get all 9 trays done. Okay, it's the next day, and the remains of my prickly pear after I got the juice out, it's still not ready yet. So I'm going to let that dry for probably another day because I have 9 trays in there. But I do have some dry stuff here from the other day. And this is what it looks like when it's dry. It's dried. You can see the peels and the seeds. They're left over. And there's really still some remains of the fruit inside too that I couldn't get out the other day when I was straining the juice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and fill my K-Tex up to 4 cups. I've filled it up to the 4-cup mark. I'm going to set it on my K-Tex. Some people call it Blend-Tex. Sometimes it's a K-Tex. It's the same thing. And I'm only going to press 1 because 1 is on low. And it won't grind the seeds because the seeds are very hard, but it'll break up all the skin around the seeds and maybe some of the leftover dried fruit that's there. Okay, I'm going to do it one more time. There is some powder that kind of comes out, some smoky powder comes out at the top, but I don't need to put a cover on if I have it that low. You can if you want to though. I'm going to put my strainer back in here and I'm going to pour this in here. I'm just going to shake it around until the powder comes through. And all you have is seeds. So now you can see there's a little bit of skin in there. Sometimes I'll just pour it back in here one more time and let it run one more time, and I have all this this powder and the skin, and I'm going to go through one more sifting after this. It is getting a little bit smoky. I probably should put the cover on. I think I will next time. And I'm going to sift that again. That's to my satisfaction. I'm fine with that. It's a little bit of skin in there. I don't really care. But the seeds look pretty clean. I'm going to pour the seeds in another bowl. I'm going to repeat the process until we're done. Put the cover on. I'm going to press 1. I just want to break up the stuff around the seed, all the dried fruit and peels. I like to do it twice. A little bit smoky from that fine powder. Pour it over my screeder. And you can see there's still some stuff in there that didn't get ground up finely, so I'll probably do it again after I sift it. Sometimes I'll use my hands and it will be less messy. I'm going to put it in here and do it one more time. See a little bit of smoke coming out of there. It gets really fine. The powder is very fine, especially the powder that probably comes from the fruit itself. The peels are a little bit heavier. You'll see that when I go through the second sifting. So these screens here are like about that size there. They're big enough for the seeds not to go through, but everything else to go through. Okay. I think I have enough for about one more blenderful. Now that I'm done separating my seeds, which are here, and I have the fine powder in the skin and maybe a little bit of the flakes off some of the seeds in here in this bowl, I'm going to take a fine screen, this is a lot finer of a screen that I have here, that won't let the even the skins go through. And I'm going to take it and I scoop it up like this. And I usually don't try to fill it because it'll flow over when I try to hit it. So I'm just going to put about half. And then I take this, get over here so you can see, and I just hit it against my hand like this. And see the fine powder that's going through there? I'm separating the fine powder from the bigger skin parts, because that's more just the fiber of the fruit. It was pretty much just going to be just the skin and maybe some flakes from off the seeds, but I'm liking to get the fine powder because that's still some of the fruit from the inside that I like to use in my slushes. It could be used in a lot of things. I'm just going to dump the skin in this bowl for now here. I'm just going to continue to go through this process until I have all of this sifted, which maybe take about maybe 15 minutes. So you can see that I've got now 3 byproducts after I've gotten the juice, most of the juice out, by blending it and putting it in ice cube trays and then vacuum sealing it in bags. I've got seeds I can ground into flour, which I haven't tried yet, but I'm going to be doing that. I've been reading on it. I've got the fine powder that I've sifted out that's just the remains probably of the fruit and maybe some of the very inner peel that has got probably a lot of nutrients in it that I can put in slushes and different things. And then I've got my peel, which is an added fiber. You can throw that in maybe granola or something like that. So the Nepali, the prickly pear, is a very valuable plant, and this is just working with the fruit. A lot of Mexicans sell the leaves at the market, and they use that to as a food source in enchiladas and different things. So the whole plant, the leaves and the fruit, are edible. I hope that makes you encouraged to want to try growing some of this prickly pear. And if you live locally to me, I would be happy to share with you a prickly pear that you can put in your garden or maybe along your yard to try it out. In a couple years, you'll have fruit. They grow very easily and very fast. I like to vacuum seal my jars, so I'm going to vacuum seal all my jars, and I've got them labeled. This is Prickly Pear Cactus powder. These are the peels, and these are the seeds. These seeds, from what I've read, they are very high in protein and lots of vitamins, and you can use them as a flour. Once I grind up the seeds, the powder looks like this. And I can use a little bit in my breads, and it gives it kind of like a nutty flavor. So this is the flour. Thanks for watching. Hope this helped you to want to appreciate this plant more and use it in your home.